We made it!
Made it. Good service.
We made it to the Mass of the Vatican.
Go us.
Successful Rome trip.
Successful Rome trip.
Any last words, Hannah? To end the vlog?
Colosseum is next.
Colosseum is next.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah. Thanks for returning to my channel. In today's video, I'm showing a weekend vlog of my time in Rome and giving you some tips and tricks to make the most of your time in Rome. So my friend and I flew in on a Friday. We both got in pretty late, so we essentially got dinner, had ice cream in our hotel. We called it a night. I will say if you are staying in Rome, I would definitely recommend that you stay at an Airbnb or a hostel. We stayed at a Marriott property, which was very nice and luxurious, but it was a little far from the city center. On our first official full day in Rome, the first thing we did after waking up was go to the Trevi fountain. I will say, if you want to get some really cool photos, it's probably a good idea to go super early in the morning. We got there at like 9:30, 10, and it was pretty crowded around then. After visiting the Trevi fountain, my friend and I went to the visitor's office of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, and this was so that we could pick up our tickets for the Easter service at the Vatican. This is definitely another tip, so I will say if you're going to Rome around, Easter, definitely see if you're interested, if you can go to the Vatican for an Easter service, and make sure that you get your tickets in advance by requesting them months in advance. They are free, so if you see something about paying, it's probably not true, it's probably a scam. After getting debriefed on what we could expect for the Easter service, we walked around and just kind of explored the area for a bit before deciding upon a place that we could get a late breakfast. So we both had hot chocolate. I had a chocolate croissant, and my friend had like a cheese Danish. I really enjoyed my time in the Pantheon. That tour was just amazing. I was a big fan of just kind of the pacing of the audio guide. It, I think, was just constructed really well in terms of showing you different parts of the building, talking about architecturally why it's such a wonder, why its significance as a church, a religious building, and also just kind of fun to read and listen to all the facts that the audio guide was talking about. So I learned a lot during that tour, and visually, I have to say, as you can see in the video, it was just really stunning. And also I liked that they did a good job of making sure that that particular space wasn't too crowded. This is going to sound really silly, but another tip that I have is that when you're at the Pantheon, go to the sandwich shops. There are several sandwich shops right outside that area that are super famous that my friend and I did not even know about. And so I would say my one regret is not getting one of those sandwiches, because they just looked really good and they smelled really good. I'm not even a sandwich person. I really wanted those sandwiches. So I will say, if you're going to be in Rome and you're going to go to the Pantheon, try one of those famous sandwiches. For me, please.
Wow, look at that crowd.
So after our Pantheon tour was over, we just kind of walked around Rome and took some really cheesy photos in different neighborhoods. And then we had a late lunch at this restaurant called Porto Castello, I think. Unfortunately, this is the only image I have of our food, which was our appetizer, but it was really good. We had pizza and pasta there. And then after that, we went to St. Peter's Basilica, just so that we could get a better idea of, where the Vatican, is in Rome, and essentially what everything would look like on that Sunday.
Well, how do you feel, Maddie?
I feel great. I'm
talk to the camera.
Nice and early. It's just. What do you want me to say?
I don't know, something better than I feel great.
I'm so excited for Mass.
Thank you.
And we met some really cool people here in line whose son, who they know where Jennison is, which was surprising, number
That's
one.
true.
And their son's thinking about studying abroad, so hopefully we can be a positive influence on that decision, despite our really early morning wake-up call.
There you go.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
How about you, Hannah?
I feel great.
I hate you.
I feel so great. So excited to go see Mass. Yeah.
Mass will be fun.
Mass will be fun. It's pretty warm. Excited for the Colosseum and Roman Forum later today. That's probably gonna be the highlight.
Definitely.
Yeah.
After Mass. Mass
After
will
Mass.
be a special occasion.
Very special.
There's nothing like it.
I'm excited to get food later. as well.
I want more hot chocolate. That
Yeah.
hot chocolate was incredible.
Yeah.
More hot
So
chocolate.
all around, good vibes, good trip.
It was a fantastic trip so far.
I'm proud of us.
We just need to make it to the airport, and then we will have successfully completed this
That's true.
marathon of a trip.
That's true. And I will be proud of us when we do.
Me too.
So another tip is that if you are able to go to the Vatican's Easter service, get there very, very early, like, crack of dawn. And also make sure that you go to the bathroom before entering. My friend and I were in line to get seats at the Vatican roughly around 5 a.m. And this meant that we were comfortable during the entire 2-hour service, as we had really nice seats that were somewhat in the front. This is pretty important because it's a very long time to stand, and if you're in the standing area, you're in the sun, it's hot, you're tired, you're surrounded, you don't really get a break. Also, it's very important to go to the bathroom before entering, as it is really hard to get back to your seat after exiting and going to the bathroom. I'm speaking from personal experience, unfortunately. Roughly an hour and a half before the service started, I had to use the restroom, so I left my row and then went to the bathroom. After asking a bunch of people, like a bunch of attendants, will I be able to get back in? They're like, yeah, no problem. So I left, went to the bathroom, and essentially it was almost impossible to get back to my row. Due to the sheer number of people, firstly, it was just hard to navigate the crowd, and then I think there were police officers. They were just so focused on crowd control, it was hard to talk to them. I think they were probably just trying to avoid engaging with people since there were so many people. And essentially after an hour of trying to engage different officers and just walking around and talking to random people in the crowd, I finally found an officer who allowed me to get back to my seat. And this was after showing several photos of me at the front. Literally, I was so happy because at that point I had almost given up of getting back to my seat. I thought I was just gonna have to stand for the entire time. So I was so happy that I almost started crying.
Okay, growing up I read books about enchanting bliss, falling head over heels, sealed by
We made it!
Made it. Good service.
We made it to the Mass of the Vatican.
Us.
Successful Rome trip.
Successful Rome trip.
Any last words, Hannah, to end the vlog?
Colosseum is next.
Colosseum is next.
So I'm still daydreaming, I see it. So I'm still daydreaming, I see it so clearly. If you're out there, I come find me. When I fall in love.
So another tip I have is that if you're traveling to a place like Rome or Athens, so any kind of very historic city that is always a really popular spot, is to book as many tours as possible in advance. My friend and I booked all of our tours prior to traveling to Rome, and that made the trip much more enjoyable as we just didn't have to stress about kind of what we were doing when we were there. So that's kind of obvious, right? But I will say something that really shocked me is that with all of these tours, we pretty much were able to skip the long lines. I think the shortest wait time we probably had was like maybe 10 to 20 minutes, and the longest time we ever waited for something was just under an hour, but it wasn't a big deal because we were skipping a line or being fast-tracked through a line where people had been waiting for hours upon hours. So definitely look at tours and tickets that are gonna speed up the process for you. For me, I think this difference was most noticeable at the Colosseum and at the Roman Forum, and somewhat at the Pantheon.
When the stars will fly, looking in his eyes. All the stars will fly.
I will say for me, I think I had a lot of fun just walking around the Colosseum, listening to our tour guide and like an audio guide, and same thing for the Roman Forum. It was just fun listening to the tour guide, looking around, like touching things. And for both tours, the entire time I was just thinking, what would it have been like to see, you know, a gladiator battle at the Colosseum, or what would it have been like to, you know, witness some sort of like political debate at the Roman Forum. And so that was really fun just to kind of like imagine what those instances, what those experiences would have been like way back then. After that, we got dinner with some of my friends from Queen Mary's University of London, who also happened to be in Italy at the same time. And that was so much fun because they introduced us to this really cool spot that one of their aunts had found, who had been just kind of touring Italy for a month. So they introduced us to a fun spot, and we just kind of like talked about our travels, what we liked about Rome, and what was next. And so that was kind of the perfect way to end the night before we had to wake up at roughly 4 a.m. for our return flights. And that brings me to my final tip. So my final tip is that if you're studying abroad in Europe or just generally traveling in Europe for a long period of time, definitely try to swing flying on budget airlines. So Ryanair and EasyJet were my two favorites, my go-tos, because they made the experience super cheap and super easy. Could pretty easily find a like 40 pound, 60 pound, you know, flight to some country that I really wanted to go to. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, and please stay tuned for more.